Alright, this is my personal framing statement video presented by yours truly, Connor Evans. And sorry if I sound sick, I am sick. So what are frames and what is reframing? Frames are just a way to look at a person or an organization and understand how they work. Every person and organization, they lead with a specific frame. So that allows them to be analyzed and to better explain the decisions and actions that that organization or that person does. What are the examples of the frames? This can be seen right above my head here. There you go. There's 4 frames: the structural frame, which is the blue one, the political frame, which is the red one, the human resources frame, which is the green one, and the yellow one, which is also the symbolic one. What are the benefits that frames provide? I think frames lead to better decisions. They can explain behaviors and they create better relationships with people. For example, I've identified that my mom leads with red, and it explains a lot of her behaviors. She's kind of a hothead. She makes decisions quick. She makes up her mind fast. She knows what she wants to do. It screams red. But me being able to identify her as a red lead, it makes me be able to kind of accustom myself more to her to make our relationship better. So that's why I think it creates better relationships. And it explains behaviors like I touched on. So what is the act of reframing? Reframing is just the act of looking at a situation in a different frame than your own. It helps you shift your viewpoint and understand all perspectives. So I'm traditionally just a blue frame. That's what I lead with, which I'll touch on more later. But if I'm a blue frame, I might look at a situation from a different frame, like a yellow frame. So maybe me and my friends aren't hitting it off. I might look at that situation from a yellow frame or a green frame, because that's not blue's specialty. So yeah, that is reframing. What do I know better about my own personal preferences? Like I said, I'm a blue/structural frame. That's what I lead with, which means I prefer logic. I prefer structure. I'm a little bit more efficient with my work, a little self-centered, and I prefer familiar and comfortable rather than new. I think the self-centered is just not intentional. A lot of times I feel as if I put myself first and I think about myself first just naturally. Yeah. So what are the strengths? Like I touched on, efficient. I mean, blue leads are going to be able to be efficient with their work. They're good problem solvers, and they're good at analysis. They're going to be good at a lot of the different math tasks, the stuff like that. Their weaknesses, though, they're closed-minded, self-centered, like I said, and they're not going to adapt well to new situations. They're going to want to be familiar, and they're going to want to. They're not going to want to move around and see new places as much. Still a little bit, though. How do your preferences influence how you communicate and connect with others? I think it's harder to connect with others as a blue frame from my personal experiences. I don't think I make an emotional connection like I want to with people. I see my friends who are yellow or green leads, and I'll see them just hit it off with someone and connect immediately. And I'm a little bit jealous because I feel like I have to go through so much just to connect with somebody emotionally, and other people just do it with ease. And that's just one thing that the blue frame, that's what we lack. How did that affect me making decisions? I mean, a lot of times I like to sit back and analyze my decisions and plan them out beforehand. If I'm gonna I like to plan my schedule ahead of time during the day. I like to analyze, how am I going to approach this person, or what am I going to say to this person if I'm going to go up to somebody new, God forbid. But yeah, that's just kind of how we operate. We like to think ahead. In what ways will this perspective help or hinder you in an organizational setting? I think blue leads are going to just be all-star employees. I think so. I mean, they're efficient. We're analytical. I think we're the ideal 9-to-5 worker. We're going to produce good work, but we might not make good connections with the coworkers or the bosses. That's not what we're into. I'm not going to be the type of guy who wants to go to a happy hour after work. Like, that's just not me. That's not a blue lead. I want to go home and be familiar with my family, with my dog. You know what I mean? I don't want to go to the bowling alley with my coworkers. That's the last thing I want to do. And so how am I going to need to alter my styles depending on my situation? I mean, I'm going to have to look at things in a reframe, you know. I'm going to have to see where my company stands, you know. Are they more of a yellow? Are they more of a red, a green? And then look at that and kind of fit myself in a little bit more, and maybe that will kind of change how I act a little bit, make myself fit in better. So how do frames better help a leader understand an organization? Well, frames allow leaders to look at an organization from different perspectives, and that allows them to accommodate and produce well-structured organizations. For example, a leader might look at their organization in the yellow frame, seeing that people are disconnected, create some after-work events like a happy hour or something to try to get everybody more connected. But in what ways does leadership require the reconciling of conflicting opposite frames? This is a perfect example. We just used the yellow frame to connect the organization with some after-work events. Well, what about those people in the blue frames? They don't want to go to the bowling alley after-work event. They don't want to do that. Well, they're going to have to. The leader's going to have to switch it up. Look through the blue frame and see what they can do to accommodate for those blue people in the organization. So yeah. All right, so I kind of already touched on this, but I'm going to go over it again. How does reframing play into leadership actions and decision making? It really just allows the leader to look at the situation from multiple perspectives. Instead of relying on a single viewpoint, they can look at it from a couple different places and better understand the problems and choose the best true solution. All right, final point here. For your personal organizational leadership, what do you think the most critical frame is to focus on? Like I said before, blue frame, going to be absolutely critical in an organization. I mean, employees need to produce results efficiently and effectively. The most difficult is going to be the yellow frame a lot of times. I don't think people are going to want to go to these extra work events. You know, they're going to want to go home. So I think it's going to be hard to connect the employees, especially, you know, to such diverse companies, huge companies. It can be hard to connect. All right, that's it for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.